गुड इवनिंग एंड वेलकम टू गनर शॉट। गनर शॉट में आप सबका स्वागत है। प्रणाम, वणक्कम एंड जय हिंद। आज हम इंडिया और नेपाल के संबंध के बारे में बात करेंगे और इसके बारे में दोबारा बात करने के लिए हमारे साथ हैं जनरल शौकीन चौहान। जनरल शौकीन चौहान, वेलकम टू गनर शॉट। लॉन्ग टाइम, हैप्पी टू सी यू हियर।
Thank you, sir. Dhanyawad. Vanakkam. Happy to be here with you.
या राइट। और इससे पहले कि मैं आई गेट इनटू इंडिया एंड नेपाल, आई वांट टू पुट समथिंग ऑन रिकॉर्ड। टुडे Gunner Shot has had 25,000 subscribers. I'd like to thank each one of you who are seeing this video. If you're not subscribed, add to this tally. If you're a subscriber, thank you. And I would also like to place my thanks to General Shokin Chauhan, who's contributed to make this tally, and so many more who have come on this channel and express their time, spend their time and their valuable inputs to make all this happen. आपको सबको बताना चाहता हूं, इंडिया में ये एक इकलौता चैनल है जो निष्पक्ष आपको स्ट्रेटेजिक एनालिसिस देता है इंडिया के बारे में, और वो भी हिंदी में, कभी हिंदी में कभी इंग्लिश में, पर ज़्यादातर आम लोगों के पास पहुंचने के लिए। तो कृपया हमारे साथ मिलिए और इस कहानी को आगे बढ़ाइए। बट हम वापस नेपाल की ओर चलते हैं। हम सबको पता है नेपाल कहाँ है। नेपाल हमारे हार्टलैंड के ऊपर है, इस नक्शे में बड़ा क्लियर है। हमारा गंगा इन गैंजेटिक प्लेन के ऊपर है। नेपाल में जो भी गतिविधियां होती हैं हमारे ऊपर असर आता है। नेपाल के साथ और लोगों के साथ ज्यादातर बताया जाता है धोती और बेटी का रिश्ता है, राइट। हमारा भाषाएं तकरीबन एक ही है। और कुछ दिन पहले तक नेपाल एक हिंदू राज्य था, और आजकल जो भारत में भी हिंदू हिंदू की बात हो रही है, अगर आप ये भी देखेंगे तो बहुत रेसोनेट होता है, राइट। मैं आई एम नॉट गोइंग इनटू द रिलीजियस पार्ट ऑफ इट, बट द फैक्ट सोशल, कल्चरल एंड एथनिक एंड लिंग्विस्टिक लिंक्स नेपाल के साथ बहुत गहरे हैं। और इसके अगर ओवरऑल देखेंगे तो हमारे संबंध ठीक ही हैं, पर इसमें कुछ प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, और इन्हीं चीजों के बारे में हमें दोबारा दोहराने के लिए और लेटेस्ट अप टू डेट करने के लिए हमारे साथ हैं जनरल शौकीन चौहान। शौकीन, ऑल योर्स। आप जिस भाषा में बात करना चाहते हो बात कर सकते हो।
Thank you, sir. बहुत धन्यवाद. पहले तो बहुत मुबारक. आप 25,000 सब्सक्राइबर्स पहुंचे. It's a tribute to your perseverance. I think I was one of the first
यस।
officers to join you on a show. We used to be speaking for somebody else, but आपने बोला कि नहीं, मैं अपना आप शुरू करूंगा. And we must have started with 0 subscribers.
या 0।
But
एक
very
साल के
nice to
अंदर
be
हुआ
with
है
you,
ये।
sir. Very nice to be with you, and I'm very happy to hear this news. जैसे आपने बोला सर, और नेपाल में आपने मैप भी दिखाया, जो हमारा हमारा एक ऐसा रिलेशनशिप है नेपाल के साथ. I always say it is one people and two nations. हम एक ही लोग हैं. रोटी और बेटी का जो रिश्ता है ना सर, ये हम we are all we're absolutely together. As you know sir, मैं इंडियन एम्बेसी नेपाल में भी था. I was a DA there, defense attaché, रक्षा सहचारी, and I know how close we are as people. दशहरा के दिन या दसाई के दिन, जैसे नेपाल में बोलते हैं, तिहार या दिवाली के दिन, our customs are similar. हमारे भगवान सिमिलर हैं. We pray to the same gods. We eat the same food. We speak the same language. We marry in each other's families. इससे closer relationship कोई और दो देशों में नहीं है. But yet, as you said, कि sir, we have some differences. And those differences are bound to arise due to many issues. But सबसे जो important चीज ये है, which we all must understand, is Nepal's strategic location. It is on the head of our Indo-Gangetic plain. आप जानते हैं, location wise, Nepal is the on the core of our country. हमारा जो इंडो गंजेटिक प्लेन है, नेपाल इज ऑन द कोर ऑफ दैट कंट्री. एंड नेपाल से all Nepal's waters flow downward into India. All of them, 100%. और अगर नेपाल में फ्लड्स हो तो हिंदुस्तान में जरूर फ्लड्स होंगे. तो हर मॉनसून में आप जानते हैं कि जो कोसी रिवर है ईस्टर्न बिहार और ईस्टर्न यूपी में, every year the Kosi would have floods. Every year a large number of the downstream population, that is in India, would get affected by these floods. Similarly, anything that happens in Nepal affects India. Anything. Whether there is an insurgency, whether there is Maoism, whether there are floods, whether there are earthquakes, whether there is rain, जो भी आप बोलो वो हिंदुस्तान में भी जरूर होगा. और सिमिलरली जो हिंदुस्तान में होता है वो नेपाल को जरूर इफेक्ट होगा. अब नेपाल जहां है सर, उसके ऊपर इज द क्रेस्ट लाइन, दैट इज द watershed is on top of Nepal and Nepal sits on the Himalayas. And because there is no barrier between us and Nepal, Nepal automatically becomes a part of India's security system. If any kind of inimical element, say PLA, comes inside Nepal, the Indian army would find it very difficult to stop them from coming downwards because there are no natural barriers, none at all. And their presence inside Nepal can cause great mayhem, great problems for us. There are no defensive lines that we can draw there. Much like between Ukraine and Russia, Nepal has a similar symbiotic relationship strategically with India. And for that reason, we have always told Nepal that you must remember that you are, because of the location that you are in, you are a part of the India's security system. And we are duty bound to take care of ourselves, we're duty bound to defend ourselves. And we have no option but to request you to remain strategically a part of us. It doesn't at any time affect or or say that we are impinging on Nepal's sovereignty, but we have these fears in our mind. The second thing is, sir, as I said, all Nepal's waters flow into us. So once again, to prevent floods, to prevent this continuous problem of the river Kosi, as you know, the river Kosi is the river of sorrows because of its continuous flooding. We need and we have established headworks on the Kosi. These headworks need to be continuously repaired. They need to be continuously maintained. So India needs to maintain this relationship with Nepal to make sure that we are not always subject to the huge flooding that takes place on a yearly basis. Thirdly, Nepal rivers flow into India. South Asia itself is going to be a water scarcity nation. And we need Nepal's waters to flow into India. So once again, if some inimical elements were to take over Nepal and stop those waters, it would be in many ways a declaration of war. And like all countries, we have, in South Asia, we have helped Nepal out through some very difficult moments. in 1947-48, when we got independence, uh, China, at that time, Chairman Mao, in 1951, mentioned that Nepal was one of the five fingers of the palm that needed to be reunified with China. And that really scared the then king of Nepal, King Mahendra, who immediately requested India for help. And it was the Indians who went in 1953, 54, 55, right up till 67. We reorganized the Nepal army, the Royal Nepal Army those days, from irregular forces, made them into regular forces. We made them into a fighting formation of about 25,000. Now they are about 100,000. And we also gave them a lot of training. In addition, we had manned almost 17 outposts on Nepal's border to keep a look on the PLA after the PLA and China, Communist China, had overrun Tibet. That's a very tense time for India because Nepal, as Chairman Mao had said, would be the next target of China's expansion into South Asia. So these were the reasons why Nepal often used to be called, we used to often look at Nepal as a part of our security ecosystem. And why Nepal's army has always been, trained by us. All their arms and weapons and equipment used to be from the Indian army, and India had given them equipment from its own WWR resources. And similarly, all their officers would get trained in India. Officers, men, different weapons, kit training we used to do in India for them. But in 62, when we lost the war to China, the border 1962 border war to China, Nepal realized that maybe India is not capable of looking after itself. And if she can't look after herself, then how would she look after Nepal? And which is the reason why Nepal then slowly started moving away from India and going back to her center space from where she would be equidistant from both China and India. If you go to Nepal, and I have, since I was a DA there, on their foreign ministry, you see the saying by their founder king, Prithvi Narayan Shah, who says, Nepal is like a yam between two boulders. She just considers herself a small piece of land, a yam between two boulders. The kingdom of the north, that is China, and the kingdom of the south, that is India. And because she's a yam, she feels that either one of these boulders move, Nepal will be crushed in between and would lose her freedom and sovereignty, something that she considers her greatest asset. Because unlike India, Nepal does not consider herself to have been colonized by the British. Though after 1814, after the first Anglo-Gurkha War, which ended in 1814, which Nepal lost, the British did not colonize Nepal. They left the king of Nepal to rule his country, but left a British resident in Nepal. And Nepal was not responsible for her foreign affairs, which the British resident would then help the king. But at that time, the colonial empire was growing, and China had the power of the Chinese kingdom had reduced considerably, and as a result, the larger colonial power would then put Nepal as a protectorate, as a part of the British colonial empire, but as an independent protectorate. And this relationship continued till 1962 when we lost the war to China. So it's a very interesting symbiotic relationship of seeing how Nepal moved from complete dependence to a midway point. So today, when we feel Nepal is looking at China, looking at other countries, she's merely going back to that point at which she can be equidistant from both of us. And that is why sometimes I feel that we must give Nepal space, that we must ensure that Nepal does not feel overwhelmed by a country like ours, which is huge. Because Nepal has to also look at China, which is even a larger country than India. And in today's terms, has 5 times our economic strength. The PLA is almost twice the size of the Indian Armed Forces, and extremely powerful in world, in the in terms of the world. So Nepal has kept itself equidistant. It also has a relationship with the US. It also has a relationship with the UK. It also has a relationship with the EU, but it keeps equidistant to both China and India. Often today, people say Nepal has gone away from India. We are today Nepal is going to China. Nepal will be colonized by China. Nepal will be overtaken by China. But this is a decision by Nepal to keep herself independent of both India and China. So, to people who are worried that Nepal might succumb to China one day, I always say that no, it has not done so over the last 250 years, 300 years. Even under the British, it did not come and was not ruled by the British. It was a protectorate, but was never ruled. After the Treaty of Thapatali in 1862, when she lost the Nepal-Tibet wars, the Gorkha-Tibet wars, because China interceded on the Tibetan side, yet Nepal continued to keep her independence. So this is the way Nepal is going to be. This is the way we must look at Nepal. From our side, we have some differences with Nepal, especially uh, some boundary disputes in the area of the Kali River in the western region of Nepal. We have some issues to do with water. We have some issues to do with the 1952 peace treaty. We have some issues to do with trade and transit. But these are all small issues which we can easily rectify as time comes by. Militarily, the Nepal army and the Indian army are very close to each other. We are now in the 21st year of the Surya Kiran exercises. We have an exercise, a battalion level exercise in India and a battalion level exercise in Nepal once every year. And our general, our chief, is also a general in the Nepal army, and the Nepalese army general is a general in the Indian army. I often used to tell the Nepalese when I was a DA there that you are India open and not landlocked. You have nothing to worry because India will help and support you in every issue. In 2015, when the great earthquake hit Nepal, it was the Indian army that sent 4 to 5 teams for humanitarian assistance and disaster relief in Nepal. And we were there within 15 hours, far, far earlier than any other country could react. We were already inside Nepal and helping them deal with this huge uh, humanitarian problem. So Nepal understands how important India is to them. She understands how India is the only country that can actually help her in case of a problem. In From India's side, we understand how close Nepal is to us and how we must continue to be two very close nations. You are aware we have the Gorkha regiments in India. We have 7 of them: the 1st Gorkha Rifles, the 3rd Gorkha Rifles, the 4th Gorkha Rifles, the 5th Gorkha Rifles, the 8th, the 9th, and the 11th Gorkha Rifles.
11.
And Britain has the second, sixth, seventh, and 10th, which she has amalgamated to make one RGR and two RGR. So we have almost 39,000 Nepalese origin Gurkha troops serving in the Indian Army. In addition, we have 128,000 pensioners, Nepali origin Indian soldiers who drop pension from India, and almost 4,500 crores of money is given on an yearly basis to Nepal as pension for our soldiers. In addition, Indian Army teams, medical teams go. We have ECHS in Nepal. We try our best to assist them in every way. And this has ensured that we remain very close with our ex-servicemen in Nepal. Even now, recently, we had our Diamond Jubilee and Platinum Jubilee in Lucknow, my regiment had. We had almost 250 soldiers, ex-soldiers, along with their families, who came to meet us for this reunion. They hired buses, we hired the buses for them from Dharan, from Pokhara, and we brought them from there to Lucknow to attend our Diamond Jubilee and Platinum Jubilee. So I can't think of a more closer relationship between the people of Nepal and the people of India. Uh, whatever differences we have could be just political. Otherwise, there are no differences otherwise between the two people. Over to you, sir.
ओ थैंक यू। आपने बहुत अच्छी तरीके से बताया नेपाल और इंडिया का रिलेशनशिप कितना गहरा है और ऐतिहासिक भी है, और ये किसी तरीके से टूटेगा भी नहीं। ये इसके बारे में मेरे को कोई डाउट ही नहीं है। पर बार बार ये आ जाता है, जैसे आपने बताया खबरों में, कि नेपाल जो है चाइना की तरफ झुक रहा है, और मैं भी आपके साथ सहमत हूँ। नेपाल झुक नहीं रहा, उसका खुद का परेशानी समझो या उसका जिस तरीके स्थिति में है, उसका स्थिति ये है कि दोनों के बीच में उसको जीना पड़ेगा। एंड ये भी हमें वी शुड नो कि आबादी चाइना की तरफ कुछ है ही नहीं, वहाँ कोई मार्केट नहीं है, वहाँ कोई क्या बोलते हो डेवलपमेंट नहीं है। आफ्टर ऑल तिब्बत में कुछ वीरान ही वीरान है। जब दूर दराज इलाके तक जगह पर आप देखेंगे कुछ उगता भी नहीं है खास करके। और नेपाल का जो लोग ज्यादातर हर चीज जो इंडिया से जाता है, और यही नहीं है, नेपाल के लोग इंडिया में आते हैं नौकरी के लिए। मैं यकीनन बताना चाहता हूं कि हमारे इलाके में, चेन्नई में, चारों तरफ मैं देखता हूं तो नेपाल के लोग आके यहाँ नौकरी करते हैं, छोटे छोटे नौकरी ही सही, पर उनका रोजी रोटी
उनकी जो आबादी है ना सर, उनकी आबादी है 21 से 24 मिलियन, उसमें से 1/3 इंडिया में काम करते हैं।
इंडिया में काम करते हैं, और यहाँ से छुट्टी में जाते हैं 50-60 हजार लेके, ये हमने देखा है। और जिस तरीके से फौज में 2-3 महीने के लिए जाते हैं छुट्टी लगातार, उसी तरीके से यहाँ से भी जो जाते हैं वो 2-3 महीने के लिए जाते हैं, फिर वापस आते हैं धीरे धीरे। तो चाहे वो फौज में हो या सिविल में हो, जिस तरीके से नेपाली लोग यहाँ काम करते हैं, बिहेव करते हैं और अच्छी तरीके से बिहेव करते हैं, उसमें कोई मैंने बदलाव नहीं देखा, ना ज्यादा अंतर देखा है। जैसे जनरल शौकीन चौहान ने बोला, कुछ पॉलिटिकल इश्यूज हैं और कुछ मुद्दे हैं जिसके बारे में हम सवाल करेंगे और वो जवाब देंगे। पहले ये है कि जैसे इन्होंने बताया, नेपाल से जितना पानी है वो हमारी ओर आता है, और खास करके कोसी और गंडक में काफी ओवरफ्लो होता है और फ्लडिंग एंड ऑल दैट। सो कुछ हाल ही के दिन के पहले हमारा एक्सटर्नल अफेयर्स मिनिस्टर गए थे और उन्होंने वहाँ समझौता किया ऑन डैम्स इन अलोंग कोसी, and flooding का ये. Plus also I think he's made some arrangements for electricity purchase and all that. सवाल यह है कि भूटान के साथ हमारा जो संबंध है इस मामले में और थोड़ा अच्छा है, क्योंकि वी हैव पावर परचेस एग्रीमेंट विद भूटान, और वहाँ जितने हाइड्रो इलेक्ट्रिक सिस्टम्स हैं जो हम लगा रहे हैं वो हमारे हैं, और वहाँ साफ है.
हम जितना
वही
भी वो पावर बना दे जनरेट दैट मच पावर, उतना ही हम खरीद लेते हैं.
और वही मॉडल नेपाल में क्यों नहीं है? क्योंकि नेपाल में उसका क्या कि द पोटेंशियल फॉर ऊर्जा इज मोर, और जब पोटेंशियल ज्यादा है पर
आप एब्सोल्युटली, मैं सहमत हूं सर. नेपाल का पोटेंशियल हाइड्रो पावर का 80,000 किलोवाट आवर्स, ह्यूज पोटेंशियल. बट क्यों हमारे पास ये सेम रिलेशनशिप या सेम मॉडल जो हम भूटान के साथ एम्प्लॉय कर रहे हैं, क्यों हम नेपाल के साथ नहीं कर सकते? इसके बारे में मैं इसको कहता हूं द पॉलिटिक्स ऑफ वाटर. समवेयर इनके जो लीडरशिप में और इनके जो, आई वोंट से यूथ, बिकॉज ईस्टर्न नेपाल, वेस्टर्न नेपाल, सेंट्रल नेपाल एंड काठमांडू have different views to different things. जो हम आवाज जो सुनते हैं नेपाल के बारे में या नेपाल से, that आवाज is from Kathmandu. And Kathmandu, I'm not saying they are anti-India, but they do not always have a view that India is doing them right. And it is that voice that affects the government in Nepal. उनके व्यू में है कि इंडिया को अगर आप ये परचेस एग्रीमेंट करोगे इंडिया के साथ, या अगर आप इंडिया को कॉन्ट्रैक्ट दोगे ये पावर प्लांट बनाने के लिए, तो इंडिया विल स्टील फ्रॉम नेपाल. कि नेपाल बहुत भोले हैं एंड इंडिया इज दिस बिग बैड बुली. पर मैं काठमांडू की बात कर रहा हूं, नॉट द रेस्ट ऑफ नेपाल. एंड बिकॉज ऑफ दिस पॉलिटिक्स ऑफ वाटर, they have neither been able to utilize this water themselves nor been able to monetize this water. Abhi aste they are giving one couple of contracts to some Chinese companies. They are giving contract to some EU companies and countries. But power can only be purchased by us,
by India,
because Nepal is India open. चाइना उनसे वो ये पावर जो है ये नहीं खरीदेगी, तिब्बत नहीं खरीदेगी,
चाहिए भी नहीं उनको. क्या करेंगे उस पावर के साथ?
It is too far. Exactly. So like I said, नेपाल में कभी-कभी ये व्यू है कि India is cheating them, and because they think India is cheating them, so they have not been able to monetize their hydropower potential. I remember हम जब embassy में थे, so they used to put in a lot of effort to convince the powers that be to link up with India and to have a contract with India and let us monetize their hydropower wealth. But somewhere along the line, a lot of things get lost. And this is mainly due to disinformation, a wrong narrative, गलत thought process. कभी-कभी ये हो जाता है, and we are hoping that our Nepalese brothers and sisters understand that we are not trying to cheat them. They just have to look across their border, eastern border, and see how Bhutan is gaining from this relationship with India.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. तो ये एक चीज है जिसके साथ हमें थोड़ा और we should go ahead, and ये अगर साकार होना है तो हमें politically we have to do a bigger outreach into the politics. जैसे आपको पता है वहाँ 2-3 मेन पार्टीज हैं, वो एक पार्टी डाउन हो जाता है, दूसरा खड़ा हो जाता है, एक पार्टी चाइना के साथ है, एक पार्टी इंडिया की तरफ है, एक पार्टी बीच में लटकता है, और ये चलता रहता है. और 2-3 साल में
there are almost 16 political parties. But unka from the right of center, that is the Nepal Congress, to extreme left, the Nepal Communists. Their Communist Party actually was created around the same time as the Indian Communist Party. Around 48, 49, as a mirror to the Indian Communist Party, they created the Nepalese Congress Party. But over the years, their Communist Party has gone through 18 to 20 splits, each split becoming more virulent and more rabid than the previous split. So the while there is Nepal Congress, while there is a Raja's party, the RPP, Rashtra Prajatantra Party, in between you have these large amount of communist parties, and now you have the parties from the Madhes. So the number of voices that are heard in Nepal are many, which is the reason why no government can really form a government. No party can form a government because no party gets complete majority. And as a result, they have to cobble together parties of different ideologies. And those ideologies stop the political parties from interacting with India to allow their country to gain. It is a very interesting study of how democracy sometimes works and sometimes doesn't.
या
जब मैं नेपाल
ये
में था
आपने
2004 2007, जब मैं था, at that time the king was in power, King Gyanendra. King Birendra had died, uh, and King Gyanendra was in power, and I saw the transition, sir. कैसे from 2004, with the Maoist rebellion taking place and the Maoists marching towards Kathmandu, how the changes occurred in Nepal. So I am very clear about these transitions that have taken clear a part of Nepal and is not allowing them to take a single decision politically that would
राइट
benefit them and benefit their people.
या आई एग्री विद यू और इसी के एक्सटेंशन ऑफ दिस आजकल बात हो रहा है कि वापस मोनार्की चलो कुछ खबरें आई हैं आई डोंट नो हाउ डीप रूटेड दे आर बट बात तो है अगर इतने स्प्लिट्स हो गए हैं इतने अगर उनका इंस्टेबिलिटी आ गया कहीं ना कहीं फिर इज इट बैक टू मोनार्की इसका फिजिबिलिटी क्या है और क्या ये हो सकता है ये या सिर्फ ख्वाब है
At present, sir, the back to monarchy does not have the strength politically because towards the end of the king's reign, there were a lot of decisions taken which were found to be detrimental to the people of Nepal because sovereignty is the main aspect. So while some part of Nepal, especially Kathmandu, people in Kathmandu might feel that they will gain with the Raja coming back because then the 250, 300 families that were dependent upon the king for favors would gain again. But the larger perspective of the people from eastern Nepal to western Nepal and to the middle hills have no love anymore with the monarchy. So I doubt whether, sir, the monarchists can bring about this kind of majority that would be required to change the constitution and bring the monarchy back again. I doubt very much.
ओके तो इस हालत में ना मोनार्की आ सकता है ना ये इतने पार्टीज हैं वो एक स्टेबल गवर्नमेंट बन सकता है चाइना का हाथ है ही उधर इसमें दो राय नहीं है हमें करना क्या चाहिए टू ब्रेक दिस लॉक जैम क्योंकि वी हैव टू ब्रेक दिस लॉक जैम इन सम मैनर और द अदर हम चुपचाप बैठ तो नहीं सकते और यू कैन नॉट लेट दिस रिलेशनशिप ड्रिफ्ट स्पेशली
Sir,
because the way things are changing in our own country, when change is happening with us, and if change doesn't happen in Nepal, which is, synchronistic to us, and if there's a dissimilarity which comes between that, especially those Madhesis and us, and of course the hill people also, then we are going to look at more instability, and that will pull us back.
So
So
there
what do
are
we
three,
do?
four things. There are 3, 4 things that we must understand about Nepal. Firstly, the Abadi, the population of Nepal. Almost 49 to 51% of population of Nepal are from Madhes, from the 4 districts of Madhes. But because of the delineation of the seats, the powers of Nepal, the political powers of Nepal, have ensured that Madhes itself will never get political power completely. वो कभी नहीं होगा. But otherwise, population strength wise, they are almost 49 to 50% of Nepal. The second thing is, जो हमारे issues that we need to sort out with them, जैसे boundary dispute है, it's a very small dispute. It is
Yeah,
not
वैसे तो कुछ
large
है ही नहीं
like with
उसमें.
China. It's a very, very small dispute. And there is no reason why, as two sensible countries, we can't sit down and discuss this out and then take steps to make sure. If we could do it with Bangladesh to sort out the enclaves
इनके साथ भी कर सकते
in
हैं.
Bengal, we can easily do this with Nepal. There is absolutely no problem if we want to do it. The third issue is that whether it is to do with hydropower, whether it is to do with boundaries, whether it is to do with renegotiating the 1952 peace tranquility and tranquility treaty or the trade and transit treaty, we are willing as a nation. But Nepal must have a blueprint to negotiate with us. I feel that because of their constant worry with China, Nepal is worried, and so are their Chinese friends, that if Nepal negotiates these treaties with India, China would lose. And so, therefore, there are in Nepal certain elements which are preventing the resolution of these. We must reach out to the people of Nepal. We must tell them how important it is. And like I said, I always use this term, and so did I remember my ambassador, Sham Saran, and later Shiv Mukherjee, who always used this term that Nepal is not landlocked, it is India open. The people of Nepal
या आपने अच्छी बात
realize
बताया.
that we can help them. And they are open to us. They have free access to us. They have free employment in us. So there is no reason why they should not take advantage.
या
And we
आपने एक
have to
अच्छी
reach
बात
out to
बताया.
the people. We have
Yeah,
to.
I
And
agree with
Shankar,
you.
it's very, very important that they reach out. We reach out to them, and we have to continuously do it and not feel that we are the big brother. We
Yeah,
are
that's
two
the important
brothers
part.
in a family. Whether we are big or small doesn't matter. We are equal. Two sovereign states that are equal. It is in our benefit that Nepal is stable, and it is in our benefit that we help keep Nepal stable.
I think so. और इसी सिलसिले में, you see, Buddhism, I think, is a
नहीं, the
uh,
larger
I would
religion
say
is
our
Hinduism.
strength which we have not exploited fully,
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल.
right? And
Yeah.
when I say Buddhism not exploited fully, not in the context of Nepal only, with all countries, right? And a lot of Buddhism and is there in Nepal, uh, right? Is there a case of
कोई
using
बुद्धा
Buddhism?
बुद्धा का birthplace is in a place
हाँ,
called
कपिल वस्तु,
Lumbini,
Lumbini.
and Lumbini is on the foothills of Nepal, on the border between India and Nepal. Lumbini has also been declared a city of peace. But who is making the city of peace? The contract has been given to China, who have been fighting
China.
Buddhism in Tibet. So these are small errors which I feel, we are making amongst each other to actually create self goals for ourselves.
Yeah, I think
The,
so. I think
the,
so.
the Buddhist pilgrimage is that Lord Buddha was born in Lumbini, but was reborn as a sage at Gaya.
Yeah.
You see, he got his knowledge at Gaya, and from there Buddhism spread. So Gaya is also a very important part of the Buddhist circle.
Then the
मैं
Buddhist circuit is
yes,
something we
मैं
have
सर
not exploited at
I had
all.
gone to Myanmar. I had gone to Myanmar to Naypyidaw, and during our discussions, the main discussion with the Burmese generals was कि सर हमको आप गया ले जाइए, हम पिलग्रिमेज के लिए गया जाना चाहते हैं. So these are the world's Buddhists want to come to Lumbini and Gaya.
India.
They can be approached from India.
No, और कोई approach है ही नहीं.
Hey, exactly. So these are things which Nepal and us can do together, which we should not create self goals, and we should negotiate with each other. It is eventually it is in our benefit. It is in India's benefit, sir, to buy Nepal's hydropower resources, because eventually we are the ones that gain if Nepal is stable politically. It is in Nepal's resource gain that India buys it, because it will bring huge economic wealth to Nepal. As it is, one third of Nepal's population actually work in India.
Yeah, yeah. There's no doubt.
So,
Yeah. Fine. I think we've had a very clear idea as to where we have to head as far as India-Nepal relations are concerned. ये जो चीजें हैं ये कभी you cannot wish them away. Problems होती रहेंगी. All we have to do is expand our contact with them. So we'll take a few questions here. At this point, one question, the first, it's a completely antithesis. Will Nepal ever join Indian Republic in some later date?
there is never any need for Nepal to join the Indian Republic, because
Mm.
Nepal is a part of India. I mean, the people of Nepal and the people of India are the same people. We are two separate
Yeah.
sovereign nations, but we are the same people. And we are very close to each other, and there will never be any need, seriously, for Nepal to join us, and nor would we ever encourage it.
Yeah.
Nepal is best as a sovereign country.
Almost in the same thing. He says, are Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, etc., driven by the same fear that India being the dominant power and them in our sphere of influence means someday we might subsume them, a la Sikkim? If so, how can we allay their fears?
Seriously, if you go to these three countries or four countries, I've been to Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, and Maldives. Of course, you have this huge country in their midst. And sometimes there used to be, sir, that old advertisement, if you remember, for TVs, neighbors envy,
Neighbors envy, owners pride.
owner's pride. So what has happened is that while Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, and Maldives have not grown economically, India is in the middle of an economic miracle. We are growing so rapidly. Our economic strength is growing so rapidly that we are the envy of the world. So these countries feel that they are being left behind, because for reasons of their own, that do not have they do not have political stabilization in their countries to allow their countries to link into India and grow along with us. So this fear is actually of being left away by this growing giant that is India. We are the fastest growing economy in the world. And it is in their benefit that they link to our economy, so that they grow along with us. Otherwise, we grow anyway.
Yeah, yeah. We
We
grow
grow
anyway, there's
anyway.
no doubt.
So that's all I can say, is that in case
No, I also
any
want to
decision
say that
shapers are.
yeah, I also want to say that we'll grow anyway. They might not grow, and at the way things are in China, China will also not be able to help them out up beyond a point.
In time, of course, it will happen, because any country which is subdued with fear will not be able to grow. That
वो
is,
खुद का हो
it's
रहा
not
है
today's view.
आजकल.
It is, yes, yes. It's always going
Historic
to be the
view.
case.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Uh, in my measured view, the strike capability of the Central Command should be suitably augmented to provision for supportive action in Nepal's defense as well against known enemy. Your views?
You have mentioned strike capability of Central Command. There is no need for us to even look at these issues, frankly, because
Yeah,
we are capable of helping Nepal from the east, that is from eastern Nepal, where we have Eastern Command, Central Command, which is in Lucknow, from there, and from any place that we feel if ever Nepal is threatened, I'm certain India will be able to help and support them in the best way possible. Because
yeah.
it is in our benefit that Nepal, we are aware that strategically Nepal has to be a part of India's uh, security framework. It has to be because they are on our Indo-Gangetic plane strategically. So we will do everything to help Nepal in case of a problem.
Right. Okay. Sharmila says, congratulations, 25,000 subscribers and continue aiming for more. Thanks a lot, Sharmila. With all your help, we will grow. And we have to grow because, like India, we need people to think about strategy. All of you. It is not enough for one or two officers like me to come and talk, or General Chauhan to come and talk and realize our potential. All of you have to be knowing what our potential is. My problem is that many people don't come to this channel and they prefer to go to masala channels, जहाँ वहाँ fake things are being peddled, and all that, and that's only to the detriment of India. So I leave it to your best judgment. I mean, ये हम उतना ही कर सकते हैं जो हम कर सकते हैं. Okay. Now, opinion on the recent protests in Nepal, sir, for restoration of kingship. You've spoken it to some extent. How were the ex-Maoist cadres of Nepal accommodated into the Nepalese army, sir?
You see, since I can give you exact details, when the Nepalese Communist Party or the Maoists, they used to call themselves the PLA, when it finally came down and when the king then, handed over his power to the mainstream democratic parties, and Girija Prasad Koirala became the prime minister. There came a point at which Girija Prasad Koirala and Prachanda and Baburam Bhattarai all sat together to now make one single government under the leadership of Girija Prasad Koirala. I'm talking of 2006, 2007. At that time, there were 34,000 Maoist cadre. From 34,000 Maoist cadre, they were put into 18 separate camps. This work was done by the United Nations mission to Nepal, the UNMIN. And there was a major general from the Swedish army called Wilkinson, who was responsible for creating these 18 separate camps. But where I was able to help as a DA, and India was able to help, is that all these 18 camps were guarded by Nepalese origin ex Indian Army soldiers. 100 soldiers for each camp. And these soldiers guarded the cadre, and we then formed teams to go inside these camps and discern for ourselves whether the persons inside were Maoist cadre or innocent boys who had been forced by the Maoists to join their movement, but not soldiers or not cadres of the Maoists. And slowly we brought this strength down from 34,000 to around 5,600, where we identified that these 5,600 of them were actual Maoist cadre and not the 34,000 earlier. So the rest of them were let go, and the 5,400 people were then trained together. And we realized that almost about 3,600 of these were people who had crossed the age of recruitment, whom we could not, you know, take into the Nepalese army. So eventually, the Nepalese army took about 1,800 Maoist cadre who were retrained in their recruit centers, and their officer cadre were retrained in the officers academy, and then inducted into the Nepalese army, where they are even now. But they are no longer Maoists; they are soldiers of the Nepal army who have sworn to protect the constitution of Nepal. So that is how we got the ex-Maoist cadres of Nepal accommodated into the Nepal army, 1,800 of them, and maybe about 100 odd officers who were retrained. We're
Okay,
talking
that's
of
a very
2006, 7, 8, 9, 10. These discussions kept on continuing, and finally we were able to induct them.
fine. Okay, the next question is, sir, anyway, we can help Nepal become ecologically stable and economically stable and grow their economy. Your view on it? Yeah, he has said all this in great detail.
Ecologically
So I,
stable is difficult because their location is in the Himalayas. Himalayas is a
Himalaya.
young mountain range, it is moving. Nepal will always be at risk of earthquakes because there are a lot of
Yeah,
earthquakes in that area. It is in seismic zone 5. Economically stable, it is for the leadership of Nepal to realize that they should join the Indian economic frame, because the
yeah,
Indian economy is today the miracle economy of the world. We are the fastest growing economy. We can only grow upwards. We have moved beyond that point at which we can be slowed down. And we are
yeah.
fast growing to be the third fastest economy. It's a matter of time.
Right. There's a view he's given, the view which arises by Chauhan sir. Same view I heard in Pokhara. A bank employee said, "We are Masoom in India is clever." Also, he was aggressive about Kalapani. Meanwhile, I tried to convince to him, don't worry about any doubt. He was very aggressive. I think that's a sentiment which rules, and we really can't do very
That
much about it. But this is a very interesting view. I mean, it's not interesting view; it's also factual view, which he says. Sir reminds me of the quote from an ex-Mexican president talking about a small country with a big neighbor syndrome. We are more close to America than to Jesus. Quote suits Maldives, Nepal, Bangladesh, and everyone. So that's how it
absolutely.
is.
I explained that. We are a large country, and smaller countries tend to become insecure.
Yeah. Okay. How deep is Pahadi versus Madeshi divide in Nepal and resulting suspicion or hatred by Bharat by Pahadis in Nepal? Bharat stand in 2015 Nepali constitution further ruining Pahadi sentiments. I think he's now delving a little deeper into this thing. I'm sure
Into the internal politics of Nepal.
internal
And
politics of
this is bound to happen. And all I can say is that India stands neutral to everybody. We are here to help the people of Nepal. And it is in India's interest that a stable Nepal should be there. So India would never interfere on either side, and we would always stand for the stability of Nepal. It
yeah,
is in our
I think
national
so.
interest that Nepal be stable.
Okay. Oh, here is a tongue-in-cheek kind of a comment which is coming up, but it's nice. Nepal behaves like the leaders of our so-called Kisan agitation. Their leaders don't want to settle any issues. The best thing is we harness their hydropower and we should manage the water. It doesn't work
No,
that way in international situations.
Nepal is a sovereign nation and must take
Yeah.
its sovereign decisions. And I am certain they will, in time, learn the
Mm.
need for economy and learn the need to earn money from India, and allow us to purchase their hydropower. Otherwise, it is going
Yeah.
waste as it is.
Yeah. Okay. A couple of more questions will call it. So, in the book Kathmandu Dilemma, author said Prachanda was considered as a myth, but how come he came out and is not answered? I'm not able to understand the question. Are you able to make out the question? No.
Basically, at the time when the Maoist revolution was going on, everyone said that Prachanda did not exist,
Okay.
you know, because he was this large figure.
Hmm.
Prachanda was a very large figure, the fierce one. If you break down Prachanda's name, it is actually his name is Pushpa Kumar Dahal,
Kumar Dahal. Yeah.
and he calls himself Prachanda, the fierce one. So at times people used to say that Prachanda did not exist, but he very much existed, and he very much compromised when he became the prime minister with everybody else to remain the prime minister, and remains a part of the political ecosystem now. So
Yeah.
that's the way it is.
Okay. The last question. Could you talk about the blockade, sir, and what were its effects and our role or perspective?
The blockade is something happened in 2015, 16, but it was not a
Old.
blockade. Yeah. It was not a blockade, not a blockade by India at any way. We were negotiating the Treaty of Trade and Transit, which specifies that you should give three transit and trade points to a country. That's international law. And we in India had been permitting movement of trade and transit through 18 or 20 points. In fact, the entire border is India open, and people can cross from anywhere. So when we said that we will enforce the to 3 to 4, the people started looking at it as a blockade. And during that time, the people of Madhesh were also very militant against the Pahadis. So it was more their blockade of movement through the Madhesh, because all of Madhesh is, it touches India. We link up with Nepal through the Madhesh. So that was the reason why people talked about blockade. But from India's side, there was no blockade, because I have personally gone there and seen very clearly that we had nothing to do with it. Our trade and transit points were very clear. And it's
Yeah,
just
I think the entire story of that blockade is
mm,
more of a info campaign which went bad, or it's
mm,
poor information management by our media, and it was
yeah,
blown up beyond a point by many things. I think it's best to keep that out of the equation
correct.
and forget about
Yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So I think we've come to the end of our talk. We've had a very clear idea from General Shokin Chauhan about नेपाल में हो क्या रहा है और किस तरीके से होना चाहिए, और भारत नेपाल का जो संबंध है किस तरीके से जाना चाहिए। मुझे एक चीज
This
का
is my
विश्वास है।
book. This is my book, sir.
या
It is just coming out,
या
Bridging
ओके,
Boundaries. So anyone who's
आप
interested
दिखाइए
more
इसको,
in
थोड़ा नजदीक दिखाइए आप। हाँ, ओके, राइट,
more
नहीं,
about
हाँ,
Nepal, I
या
would be more than happy for you all to go and buy it.
ये व्हेन इज इट कमिंग आउट?
It should be released now within the next month, sir. Bridging Borders.
Okay, whenever it releases, we'll have a book release or thing here
Virtual book
on
release.
Ganesh
Definitely,
Short.
sir.
We'll go
Definitely.
over the book and we'll discuss it and what it holds and what your views on this whole thing. We'll do
Definitely,
it
sir.
next
It is
month. Whenever it is
taken
released,
me.
you have some time. We'll do a book review on this
We
channel.
will do that. We will
Okay,
do that. I have
we'll
put a
do
lot
that.
of effort into this book, a lot of my knowledge and
Yeah,
experiences into this book, and I'm sure people
I
will
think
gain
so.
by reading it.
I will be more than happy to promote your book, because such books,
Thank you, sir.
will definitely ease the tensions between Nepal and India and also clear away a lot of misconceptions. और जाते जाते मैं सिर्फ सब लोगों को यही बताना चाहता हूँ, देखिए, ये सब बोल सकते हैं कि नेपाल जो है इंडिया और चाइना के बीच में फंसा हुआ है। मेरा मानना है वो फंसा नहीं है। क्यों? हाँ, चाइना वाला पैसा लेके आ सकता है, सब कुछ लेके आ सकता है, पर लोगों को लेके नहीं आ सकता उधर। और वो चाइना, नेपाल से कोई चाइना में जाके काम नहीं करता। चाइना से लेकर कोई सॉरी, नेपाल से लेकर चाइना के आर्मी में कोई नौकरी नहीं मिलती किसी को। एक आध कुछ लोगों को मिल सकता है, पर जिस तरीके से हमारा मिल सकता, हमारा आर्मी में इनको नौकरी मिलता है, वहां मिल नहीं सकता। राइट? नेचुरल पानी का बहाव इस साइड है। जब नेचुरल पानी का बहाव इस साइड है, फिर लोगों का सोच विचार भी इस साइड ही आएगा, क्योंकि उस साइड के बारे में कोई सोचता नहीं है। वहां
They'll
कोई
follow
रोड
the
नहीं
flow
है,
of
वहां
water.
कोई झुक। हाँ, ठीक है ना। आप देखिए, इतिहास में सिविलाइजेशंस हैव गॉन अलोंग विद वाटर, पीपल हैव
Yes,
गॉन अलोंग विद वाटर। तो
बिल्कुल।
ये रिश्ता भी कभी टूटेगा नहीं। जरूर थोड़ा बहुत ऊपर नीचे होगा, पर मेरा मानना यह है, जहां तक इंडिया और नेपाल का रिलेशनशिप है, और विजावी चाइना एंड नेपाल का रिलेशनशिप, इंडिया और नेपाल का रिलेशनशिप बहुत तगड़ा रहेगा और ये अटूट है। राइट? एंड हमें कॉन्फिडेंस होना चाहिए कि हम इतने बड़े हो रहे हैं, एंड किसी ना किसी दिन ये छोटे देशों को जो हमारे साथ हैं, उनको ये खुद का क्या है, सेल्फ बिलीफ या सेल्फ रियलाइजेशन होगा कि इंडिया के साथ जोड़ के आगे बढ़ना उनके लिए इम्पोर्टेंट है और उनके लिए फायदेमंद भी होगा। Right. With this, I'd like to thank General Chauhan for giving us such a good expose about Nepal. Thanks a lot, and we look forward to your book. And all the best to you, and all the best to all the viewers. And I once again thank everyone for all the good wishes which you have said about the channel getting 25,000 subscribers. We need more, not for me, but for all of you, because this journey is about democratizing strategic affairs. And unless as India grows and our strategic affairs are not democratized and don't come to the people, for the people to realize the power of India, we will not grow the power we aspire to be. That is the whole story of this Ghana shot. Right? Thanks a lot. Good evening and Jai Hind to all of you.
Thank you, sir. Jai Hind, and thank you for the talk. Very great time. All the best to you.
Thank you.